My name is Dan Freedman. I am an author of these books which are about a young footballer, and we follow his life through the series as he gets older. His aim, like so many, is to make it as a Premier League footballer. And the reason I write the books is not only do I love football, I was also lucky enough to work in the game before becoming an author, working with the England football team, and be lucky enough to meet people like Messi and Ronaldo and Rooney and Steven Gerrard. So that's what I try and do, is put the real experiences of football into these stories. You enjoy them, you also pick up some football tips along the way, and the strong message that I put in the books is it is about dedication, determination and hard work, which is a message which goes across all areas of life, not just football. Football is a metaphor in a way, something that we all enjoy, so that we can discuss these ideas. Three players. I asked Messi. I was doing some work for FIFA a couple of years ago, and was lucky enough to interview Messi, and simply asked him what it felt like to be the greatest footballer on earth. And he smiled very modestly, said that he felt he could get a lot better and practice every day to try and get better. And at that moment you realised A, how modest he was, and B, you could hear 1,000 defenders crying at the prospect of Messi being better. And then Ronaldo, I met him when he'd just come over. I used to write the FA Cup programmes for the match programmes, and I'd agreed with Man United that he would do an interview, and I turned up there and we realised that he was 18, had just come over from Portugal and couldn't speak a word of English, and my Portuguese isn't that hot, and so we had to translate it. It was fine, it was a good interview, and you got a real idea of the young Ronaldo. But I always mention that in schools as well, from the point of view, imagine what a great job that translator had that day. And he would always remember that. And he worked with Ronaldo for a long time when he first came over to England to help him settle in with the language and the culture. So it's not just about the footballer, it's about the journalist and the researcher and the translator, and you can see how big football can be. And my other one was also up in Manchester, my other favourite one. I got to sit with Sir Alex Ferguson in his office for about half an hour, one-on-one, doing an interview. And I just looked around the room and just thought, what must have happened in this office? You know, the conversations with Cantona, with Ronaldo, with Rooney, and I'm sat on this sofa with him now. There's a moment in Golden Goal where my character Jamie Johnson gets called to his manager's office, and so I just thought back to that exact moment and what it felt like and what it looked like. So those three stand out. My biggest achievement, I believe, don't like talking about achievement, my own achievements too much, but I believe that the best thing I've done is getting the books published, because it takes a long time and it's not easy. It took me 3 years to get an agent and to get a publisher and to learn how to write really well. And then some of the feedback that I get from all over the world. A lot of people don't read, but when you do read, it can really enhance your life, your enjoyment, your prospects, your knowledge, the swiftness of your brain. And the emails I get from people and from parents saying, I don't read but I read your book and I really loved it. So for me, that's when I think that's a real achievement. Yeah, the books are in schools, and I spend a lot of my time visiting schools. In this country, in England and in the UK, we have a particular problem with boys not reading, but at the same time they absolutely love football. So schools will get me to go in and just talk about my experiences in football and how my passion for football has allowed me to have a career without actually being one of those players kicking the ball. And we talk about, you could be in the medical side, the legal side, the sponsorship side, and in my case the journalistic and writing side. And so to be able to put Steven Gerrard, Wayne Rooney, Ronaldo, Messi in the same sentence as reading and writing and working, the kids find it inspirational, and for that reason the schools really enjoy it. And I've had some really inspirational emails. I had an email from a teacher saying, I work with a group of special needs and they have never read a book. Yours, The Kickoff, is the first whole book they've ever read, and they'd love to meet you. Would you come and meet? And I'm definitely going to go in and meet them, because it's fantastic for me. It's so inspirational for me to hear the effect. when you're writing when you're writing books, novels, your first task is to make sure that it is artistically entertaining. So before you think about any kind of messages, any kind of diagrams, you have to think, what is this story? How am I going to get someone to be desperate to read the next page and the next page, and once they've gone to bed to be still reading with a light underneath their duvet? And I think I do that with this guy, Jamie Johnson, my character, who is a very, very ordinary boy who kids all over the world recognise and empathise. And he's very ordinary, except for that moment when he's on the football pitch. And he can do extraordinary things then. And my messages are about the sacrifices and the determination and the perseverance that he has and needs to have in order to make it to the top of the game. I'm not interested in a boy playing in a park getting picked for his country the next night and scoring a hat-trick, because it doesn't happen. I'm interested in how it actually works and using the experiences I've had to make them realistic. And yeah, in terms of some practical tips, in each book we find a bit of information about how Jamie actually does become a better footballer, and I'm always interested in that. I spoke to, when I was writing Shoot to Win, which is the second book in the series, I spoke to a friend of mine who's a coach, has coached with Chelsea and with the English FA, and I said, I want Jamie Johnson to learn a step over, because as we know with Ronaldo, it's a key movement for a winger, which is what Jamie Johnson is to learn. So I worked with an illustrator and a coach to show the drill that he does and the actions, how he learns the step over. And my ideal is you read the books, you really enjoy the stories, and if you want to pick up tips at the same time and go outside and practice having been inspired, you can do. And I make it very, very important that I have the right messages, football-wise as well as life-wise, in the book. Very excited. I think the whole world, a bit like America a few years ago, I think the whole world needs India to be involved in football, really at the highest level, to become a power. And I think that the resources are there, and it sounds like the enthusiasm is there, and we are going to channel it and give the right football messages over there. So I think it's very, very exciting, as well as for India. I think it's exciting for football. If you imagine a World Cup with India being a really big power in it, I think that's a really, really exciting idea. As for me, I'm very happy to be involved and try and talk about some of the experiences that I've had in football and the possibilities there are for people to get involved in the sport, even if you don't make it as a professional. I think we will get some top players out of India, but even if we don't, what football can give to the community there is going to be massive. And from the educational point of view, I love the idea of my books being in schools, the kids being inspired by football to read, and by their reading to be inspired to play football. And I would like to think that we could do some teaching resources based around the books, based around writing, and that a lot of schools in India could be reading the books at the same time as playing football, reading about football, and enhancing their writing and their ability to read as well. My key message, and it's a football one and a life one and an educational one, is to go for your goals. Identify what it is that you want to do, and then do everything you can to achieve it. Sometimes it's the most difficult part of life to work out where it is that you want to go. Once you've done that, and often having a really big passion like football can help you to identify it. Once you know where you want to go, you can go for your goals and you can achieve it. I think it would be very interesting to do books specifically for India, perhaps even about the idea of a young Indian player coming over to the Premier League and experiencing that whole new world, and bringing over to the UK the massive potential that there is in India. So I'm excited in that, just as a story, just thinking about it, and there may well be something that we could look at of doing a specific bespoke book for all the kids that are going to be involved in the academy, improving their football and reading about it. It's quite an exciting thought too. Yes, I believe that we can use this passion for football, we can use it in a really constructive way if we channel it. Take my own example. I loved football, loved playing it, wanted to be a professional, wasn't quite good enough. But that passion for the game has given me the rest of my life. Even without playing football, it's taken me to working with the England team, working with the FA. I've been to 2 World Cups through my writing, because I was a journalist and an editor. It was my writing about football that opened those doors. We got invited to Buckingham Palace, we met the Queen, we met the Prime Minister, we played a game in South Africa and met Nelson Mandela. And all the while, all the time I'm having those experiences, it is my passion for football that's got me through those doors and into those places. Even though I wasn't one of the players kicking the ball, it could still drive my intention and desire for excellence in another way.